7 silent signals she sends when she secretly misses you. 99% of men completely miss these psychology tricks. The deepest love is often the quietest. It doesn't shout, it waits to be noticed. There comes a point in many men's lives when confusion quietly sets in. You sense distance, you feel a shift, yet nothing is said. Not because she feels nothing, but because she's expressing it in ways you were never taught to recognize. When a woman misses you, she almost never announces it. She doesn't wave a flag, send a dramatic message, or confess what's going on inside her heart. That's not how longing usually works for her. Instead, it slips out sideways, through pauses, through timing, through subtle changes in attention and emotional energy. And here's the hard truth most men never realize. A woman can miss you deeply while appearing completely composed on the surface. Why? Because vulnerability is risky. Pride holds her back. Fear keeps her guarded. Uncertainty makes her hesitate. And self-protection tells her not to reveal too much, too soon, so she stays quiet. But silence doesn't mean absence of feeling. It means those feelings have gone underground. When a woman misses you, her behavior begins to shift in ways that are easy to overlook but impossible to fake. She might not reach out, but she watches. She might not ask, but she listens closely. She might not admit longing, but her emotional rhythm subtly changes. Your absence starts to weigh on her more than she expected. Moments replay in her mind, small memories grow louder, and the version of you she once assumed would always be there suddenly feels distant and irreplaceable. Every woman expresses emotion differently, but the psychology of missing someone is remarkably consistent. When she feels pulled back toward you, her body language softens, her curiosity returns, her awareness of you sharpens. It's not a conscious strategy, it's an emotional response. Your absence becomes a quiet force, drawing her attention, shifting her behavior, even when she's trying not to let it show. Most men misread these signs. They label them as boredom, politeness, random friendliness. They dismiss them entirely. But those barely noticeable changes, they're not random. They're the entrance to her emotional world. Because here's the paradox. When she misses you, she often grows quieter, but her silence speaks volumes. It shows in how she checks for your presence without engaging, in how she subtly tests whether you'll respond, in how she seeks connection without admitting she wants it. A woman's heart rarely speaks first, but her actions always tell the truth, eventually. In this video, you'll learn 3 silent signals almost every man overlooks. Signals that appear when your absence begins to matter, when her thoughts circle back to you, when the space you left behind no longer feels empty, but heavy. Once you understand these signals, you won't second-guess her behavior anymore. You'll see past the surface. You'll recognize what she's trying not to say. Because when a woman misses you, she doesn't use words. She uses signals. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss the exact moment she starts wanting you back. Signal number 1. Her attention reappears in subtle, unexpected ways. When a woman secretly misses you, the very first signal almost every man overlooks is the quiet return of her attention, and not the loud kind that announces itself, not the obvious interest that feels safe and clear, but the soft, unexpected kind that slips back into your life like a shadow at sunset, subtle yet undeniable if you know how to see it, because women rarely say, "I miss you" out loud when pride and uncertainty are involved. Instead, they communicate through tiny behaviors that feel accidental but never are. And this is where psychology tricks and female psychology quietly take the lead. Her attention doesn't crash back in, it drifts, it hovers, it lingers. Be alert. Don't expect a message. Don't wait for a confession. That is not how longing usually works. When emotional attachment begins to resurface, it shows up first in micro movements, in moments she thinks no one notices, in choices she makes when she believes she's still in control. You may see her name suddenly reappear among your story viewers more often than before, consistently, almost rhythmically, as if she's checking in without knocking. And no, it's not coincidence, because people do not repeatedly watch what they feel nothing for. She may react to a post she once would have scrolled past, something casual, something harmless, a like here, a small reaction there, and that tiny digital tap carries more meaning than a paragraph of words ever could. Be aware. She might even scroll back, quietly interacting with older content, moments you thought were long forgotten, because curiosity doesn't live in the present alone, it revisits the past when emotions are unresolved. Don't dismiss this. You must understand that attention is energy, and people do not give energy to what is emotionally empty. This is the modern form of checking on someone without exposing the heart, a safe distance strategy rooted deeply in female psychology, where observation feels safer than vulnerability. Her absence created a space, and now that space feels uncomfortable, so she peeks back in, just enough to feel close without risking rejection. If your lives intersect in real space, the pattern becomes even clearer. She notices when you enter a room, faster than before, almost instinctively. Her eyes track your mood, your posture, your presence. She positions herself where you can see her, not to start a conversation, not to force interaction, but simply to exist within your awareness. Don't misunderstand this. It's not about attention seeking. It's about emotional proximity. She wants to feel connected without crossing a line that might expose her feelings. That is why this attention feels quiet. That is why it feels restrained. Be calm. Observe. Another layer beneath this signal is curiosity, the kind that grows when emotional investment quietly returns. She wants to know what you're doing, where life is taking you, who you're becoming, but she won't ask directly. She may bring your name up in conversation with mutual friends. She may listen more closely when others mention you. She may respond emotionally, even if silently, to signs of your growth, your distance, your confidence. That reaction matters. Curiosity is not random. Curiosity is a response. When she cares, her mind circles back to you even when her words do not. Don't ignore that. You must recognize that women protect their pride fiercely. She doesn't want to appear needy. She doesn't want to risk hearing nothing back. She doesn't want to reopen a door that once carried uncertainty. So instead, she leaves breadcrumbs and watches to see if you notice, because noticing is safer than reaching, and observation feels less exposed than desire. This is where many men fail, because they expect clarity instead of signals, declarations instead of patterns. But emotional truth often whispers before it ever speaks. If a woman truly doesn't miss you, there is no curiosity at all. None. She doesn't check, she doesn't watch, she doesn't wonder. Indifference is silent and still. Attention, however quiet, is movement. That is the difference. When she observes without speaking, when she watches without approaching, when her presence subtly aligns with yours again, it is not chance. It is emotional gravity pulling her back into your orbit. Be steady. Don't chase. Don't confront. Let her feel safe in that curiosity, because safety is where affection grows. This is not about manipulation. It's about awareness, about understanding how to fall in love without force, how to recognize emotional signals before they turn into words, how to read what is unspoken using psychology tricks grounded in respect and patience. When you understand this, you stop guessing, you stop overthinking, and you start seeing clearly, because what her pride refuses to say, her attention quietly reveals again and again, and if you learn to read that language, you gain insight not only into her feelings, but into the deeper rhythms of female psychology and how to fall in love in a way that feels natural, grounded, and real. Signal number 2, she creates soft openings for you to re-engage. Signal number 2 is where most men truly miss what is happening right in front of them, because when a woman starts to miss you, she rarely waves a flag or makes a bold declaration. Instead, she creates soft openings for you to step back in, and to the untrained eye, it looks like coincidence. It looks like politeness. It looks harmless, but don't be fooled, because emotional intention often hides behind ordinary behavior. Be aware. That is how female communication protects the heart. When she misses you, she doesn't chase, she doesn't beg, she doesn't expose herself unnecessarily. She opens quiet doors and waits to see if you're attentive enough to walk through them. These openings are not accidents. They are invitations disguised as normalcy. They are gentle doorways that whisper, "I'm thinking about you," without forcing her to say the words out loud. And understanding this is essential if you want to attract women without pressure or confusion. One of the most common ways she does this is by reaching back into the past. She might reply to an old story. She might react to a post that has been sitting there quietly. It feels random. It feels casual. Don't dismiss it. Be sharp. The content doesn't matter. The timing does. A heart emoji, a fire emoji, a laughing face. Small gestures, yes, but emotionally loaded. She's not responding because the post suddenly became interesting. She's responding because you are still relevant in her emotional world. That tiny interaction is a low-risk way for her to test the water. You must understand this. A woman who feels nothing does nothing. Silence is indifference. Action, even small action, is interest. Sometimes she goes one step further and sends a question she already knows the answer to. Something simple, something unnecessary, something that creates a reason to talk. Don't overthink the question. Look at the intention behind it. She's not confused. She's opening a channel. These moments may look insignificant on the surface, but emotionally they carry weight because they show she's willing to lean forward just enough to see if you'll meet her halfway. This is not insecurity. This is emotional intelligence at work. A high-value man recognizes the difference between noise and signal. Another version of this signal comes in the form of neutral check-ins. A short message. "How have you been? Hope you're doing well." Men often misread this as politeness or boredom. That is a mistake. Psychologically, it means far more. Women do not reach out to men they feel neutral about. They don't reopen lines of communication without reason. If she reached out at all, it means something inside her nudged her past comfort and pride, even if only slightly. Be calm. Be observant. This is a test. She's checking if the door is still open. She's watching how you respond. Your tone matters. Your pace matters. Your presence matters. This is where masculine energy shows itself, not in force, but in steadiness. Sometimes she doesn't contact you directly at all. Instead, she lets timing do the talking. Watch this carefully. When you pull back, she becomes active. When you go quiet, she posts. When you create distance, she suddenly shares things she knows you'll see. Quotes that hint, photos that echo memories, moments that feel familiar. This is communication without confrontation. Don't ignore it. If her activity increases right after your absence, it's not random. That is her emotional radar reacting to space. That is her saying without words, "I feel your absence." A man who understands how to attract women knows that silence often speaks louder than messages. There's also a physical layer to this signal when your lives overlap. Shared spaces, mutual environments. She positions herself closer. She chooses seats where you'll notice her. She appears where you often are, not to challenge you, not to corner you, but to feel connected without risking rejection. Proximity is comfort. Proximity is curiosity. Proximity is emotional gravity at work. Be grounded. Don't rush. She's not asking you to walk through the door. She's simply opening it and watching to see if you notice. A high-value man notices without reacting impulsively. What makes this signal so powerful is that it respects both sides. It allows her to express interest without losing dignity. It allows you to respond without pressure. This is the space where attraction grows naturally. Don't force clarity. Don't demand explanations. Be present. Be intentional. Masculine energy is not about chasing signals. It's about recognizing them and responding with calm confidence. You must remember this. Women are drawn to men who understand nuance, who read between the lines, who don't panic at subtlety. These soft openings are not manipulation. They are emotional safety mechanisms. They allow her to test connection without pain. They allow you to step forward without embarrassment. That balance matters. When you respond with patience and clarity, you reinforce attraction. When you overreact or ignore completely, you either overwhelm or close the door. Neither serves you. Attraction is built in moments like these, where awareness meets restraint. If you want to attract women consistently, stop looking for loud signals. Look for patterns. Look for timing. Look for effort disguised as coincidence. That is where real interest lives. Be steady. Don't chase the door. Walk through it calmly when it opens. That is how a high-value man moves. That is how masculine energy communicates without words. And that is how connection deepens without force, pressure, or confusion. If this opened your eyes, don't just nod and move on. Be the man who sees what others miss. Drop a comment right now and write, "I recognize the door when it opens." Like this video, subscribe for more sharp psychology tricks, and remind yourself daily, subtle signals aren't accidents. They're invitations for men who are paying attention. Signal number 3, her emotional sensitivity toward you increases. When a woman secretly misses you, one signal rises above all others because it is almost impossible for her to control. That signal is the sudden increase in her emotional sensitivity toward everything connected to you. It is subtle, yet powerful, and most men completely overlook it. This is where experience, Old Stoic wisdom, and an iron mind separate those who guess from those who truly see. When she misses you, your presence does not fade when you are gone. It echoes. It lingers. It grows louder in silence. That is why small things suddenly carry more weight than before. Missing someone amplifies perception. As Carl Jung once said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. In this case, her heightened reactions reveal her inner state more clearly than any confession ever could. Notice how silence changes meaning. Before, your delayed replies meant nothing. Now, each pause feels heavier to her. Not because she demands attention, but because absence activates emotion, and emotion sharpens awareness. She notices when you stop watching her stories, when you don't engage with her posts, when your energy shifts, even slightly. She may say nothing, but internally, she registers everything. Caring turns neutral moments into emotional signals. This is not strategy. It is psychology. The mind searching for connection where distance exists. Pay attention to how she reacts to your tone. When a woman begins analyzing your calmness, your timing, your mood, and your emotional temperature, it means you occupy mental space, and space in the mind is reserved only for what matters. Marcus Aurelius taught, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Right now, her thoughts carry your imprint. This is where Stoicism Win is not about emotional detachment, but emotional clarity. Understanding that her increased sensitivity is not pressure, it is information, and information is power when handled with restraint. You will also notice her awareness expanding beyond you to the world around you, especially other women. When she misses you, even harmless interactions may feel sharper than expected. Feelings arise that she may not fully understand, let alone express. She might feel unsettled, protective, alert, not because she wants control, but because emotional investment surfaces under uncertainty. That is why her behavior may shift without explanation. She may post more, pull back suddenly, or make extra effort in how she presents herself. This is not manipulation. It is an attempt to regulate inner tension between longing and self-respect. Memory changes as well. When missing someone takes hold, the mind begins replaying shared moments, conversations, laughter, silence, presence. Ordinary memories transform into emotional anchors. Nostalgia appears quietly. She may reference the past indirectly. A shared joke, a familiar phrase, a subtle callback. Psychologists call this emotional leakage. What is felt but not spoken still finds expression. As Seneca reminded us, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Here, imagination fuels connection because absence invites reflection. The clearest sign of all is emotional fluctuation. Warmth followed by distance, openness followed by restraint, not as a game, but as an internal struggle between desire and self-protection. This turbulence is the final confirmation. Calm indifference does not swing, only care does. Men with an iron mind understand this. They know that reacting impulsively creates confusion. Steadiness creates trust. This is where Old Stoic wisdom guides modern relationships. not by suppressing emotion, but by mastering response. In today's fast-paced digital world, where messages, likes, and timing have become emotional currencies, awareness is everything. Mastering it allows you to navigate connection without chasing or withdrawing. Strength lies in consistency, not intensity. Stoicism win here means calm confidence, not coldness, presence without pressure, space without disappearance. Theodore Roosevelt said, "Confidence is contagious." Emotional stability is even more so. If you recognize these signs, your role is not to confront her or demand clarity. Your role is to lead through composure. Show that your attention is deliberate, your silence purposeful, your interest steady. When a man holds his center, he becomes emotional safety rather than uncertainty. That is what deepens attraction over time. Remember this lesson clearly. Repeat it from every angle. Heightened sensitivity means emotional connection. Emotional connection creates awareness. Awareness reveals truth. Truth favors the man who observes patiently. Build your iron mind. Apply Old Stoic wisdom daily. Let Stoicism win through discipline, calm, and self-mastery. When you master your inner world, you naturally master your relationships, your confidence, and your life. Signal number 4. Why do women communicate missing you through silence? Signal number 4 cuts against almost everything men are taught to expect, because men are trained to listen for words while women often speak through absence. And this is where most men misread the moment entirely, using none of the psychology tricks that actually matter in emotional connection. You think honesty should be clear, spoken, efficient, and you quietly assume that if she truly misses you, she would simply say it. Yet female psychology doesn't move in straight lines like that, not because she's playing games or trying to confuse you, but because emotional openness feels like standing in the open without armor, and saying, "I miss you," is not a casual sentence for her. It is exposure, and exposure invites the possibility of rejection, misunderstanding, or indifference, so silence feels safer, controlled, and dignified. Be clear about this. Women often communicate emotionally before they ever communicate verbally. Behavior comes first, tone comes later, words come last. And when you understand this, you stop chasing explanations and start noticing patterns. Don't assume silence means absence of feeling. That is the mistake 99% of men make. Her quiet is not emptiness. It is compression, like emotion folded inward, waiting to see if the ground is safe to step on. Pride matters here, not pride as arrogance, but pride as self-respect. A woman can want you deeply and still refuse to reach out unless she senses warmth, receptivity, and emotional safety from you, because reaching out without those signals feels like handing someone your heart with no assurance they'll hold it gently. You must also understand uncertainty, because uncertainty is fuel for silence. She doesn't know if you miss her too. She doesn't know if your feelings are steady or fleeting. So instead of asking directly, she observes. She pauses. She watches how you respond to space, and she sends subtle shifts that test emotional awareness. This is not strategy in the cold sense. This is emotional self-protection shaped by experience. And recognizing that difference is one of the most powerful psychology tricks a man can learn. Silence also carries impact in a way words never can, because words can be argued with, dismissed, or minimized, while absence is felt in the body, in the routine, in the unexpected quiet of moments where her presence used to live. She wants you to feel the shift, not hear it explained, because explanation removes mystery, and feeling requires mystery to breathe. Don't rush to fill the silence with panic or assumptions. Be grounded, be observant. That is how to fall in love in a way that lasts, by responding to emotional cues rather than demanding verbal confirmation on your timeline. When her messages slow, when her warmth becomes selective, when her availability changes without hostility, those are signals, not withdrawals. And men who understand female psychology don't confront silence aggressively or retreat into indifference. They adjust their energy, they offer safety without pressure, consistency without demand, presence without interrogation. You must remember that women often need to feel missed before they admit they are missing you, and this reversal confuses men who rely only on spoken clarity, yet once you see it, you can't unsee it. Silence becomes a language, distance becomes a sentence, timing becomes the message. Don't ask her to explain what she is still trying to understand herself. Be patient, be emotionally steady. That is how trust forms quietly. That is how attraction deepens without force. And that is why her silence is not distance at all, but communication layered with feeling, history, hope, and caution, waiting to see if you are emotionally fluent enough to hear it. If this opened your eyes, don't just watch and move on. Like the video, subscribe for more psychology tricks, and join the conversation below. Comment this sentence to lock the lesson into your mind and show the algorithm you're paying attention. Silence is not distance, it's emotional communication. Signal number 5. How her behavior changes when she secretly wants you back. Signal number 5 is where behavior tells the truth long before words ever dare to catch up. Because when her desire quietly grows stronger than her pride, something shifts beneath the surface, and you can feel it even if you can't yet name it. These changes are not calculated, not rehearsed. They are subconscious, automatic responses that rise when emotion starts outweighing self-control. That is why you must stop listening only for explanations and start watching patterns. One of the first signs is emotional inconsistency. She feels warm, open, engaged, then suddenly distant, restrained, harder to read. Don't mistake this for confusion. Be precise. This is conflict. Part of her wants closeness, another part wants safety. That internal tug-of-war leaks into her behavior, and men who don't understand this often react too fast, either pulling away or pressing for clarity. Don't do that. Be steady. Emotional inconsistency is not a lack of interest. It is evidence of interest rubbing against restraint. That is where patience becomes power, and where a high-value man separates himself from the crowd by not needing immediate reassurance. Another clear signal appears in how she responds to you. When a woman secretly wants you back, your messages start to carry weight again. She reads them carefully. She notices tone. She replies with intention instead of habit. That doesn't always mean faster replies, but it does mean more thoughtful ones. Short messages gain substance, simple exchanges gain warmth. You must pay attention to effort, not speed. Effort reveals priority. And when you see her leaning into conversation again, even subtly, understand this: attention follows emotion. This is one of those psychology tricks most men overlook because they focus on quantity instead of quality. Don't chase constant contact. Be observant. That is how you attract women without force, by recognizing when interest is already returning and not disrupting it with neediness. Then there is the shift in visibility. When she wants you back, she becomes more intentional about being seen by you. She shows up where she knows you'll notice. She adjusts her appearance just enough to feel confident, not for approval, but for presence. She gravitates closer to your orbit, emotionally or physically, because proximity lowers resistance. This is not about performance. It is about alignment. Her behavior starts syncing with yours again, and that synchronization is rarely accidental. Don't comment on it directly. Be calm. Be receptive. Let it breathe. Masculine energy works best when it is grounded and unreactive, when it allows space for attraction to unfold instead of interrogating it. You may also notice something deeper. She reacts emotionally to your growth. Your confidence lands differently now. Your discipline registers. Your stability feels attractive again. This is critical. Women are drawn back not by promises, but by progress. When she sees you moving forward, taking care of yourself, holding your frame, it activates a sense of safety and possibility. That is why self-development is not just personal, it is relational. Be consistent. Be focused. A high-value man doesn't announce change. He lives it. And that lived change quietly pulls her attention back without words. As her interest strengthens, emotional doors begin to open again. She shares more, not everything, but more than before. She asks deeper questions, not surface curiosity, but questions that explore values, plans, and emotional states. This matters. Women do not invite men into their inner world casually. They protect that space carefully. When she opens it, even partially, it is because trust is rebuilding. Don't rush her. Don't probe aggressively. Be present. Listen fully. That is how to attract women who are emotionally invested rather than momentarily intrigued. And here is the most important truth you must accept. Her behavior never lies. Words can hesitate. Silence can confuse. But behavior always reflects emotional direction. When her actions start aligning toward you again, even in small ways, that is the signal. Don't argue with it. Don't overanalyze it. Respond with calm confidence. Masculine energy is not loud. It is steady. It doesn't demand certainty. It creates safety. And safety is what allows desire to return fully. So don't chase explanations. Be grounded. Don't test her feelings with pressure. Be consistent. You must understand that attraction often returns quietly before it announces itself. This is not about control. It is about awareness. When you embody the traits of a high-value man, when you focus on growth, presence, and emotional stability, you naturally attract women back into your orbit. And when you recognize these signals without reacting impulsively, you give attraction the time and space it needs to deepen again. Signal number 6. She mirrors your energy and routines from the past. Signal number 6 cuts deeper than most men realize because it happens quietly, without announcements, without late-night confessions, and without dramatic gestures. She mirrors your energy and routines from the past. And this is not coincidence. It is psychology in motion. When a woman begins to unconsciously adopt your old habits, your phrasing, your music preferences, your workout rhythm, or even the timing of when she appears online, it means your imprint never left her emotional nervous system. People do not mirror what they have released. They mirror what still feels familiar, safe, and meaningful. Carl Jung once said, "Where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, there love is lacking." And mirroring is love's quiet fingerprint, not loud, not demanding, but persistent. In modern life, where attention is fractured and distraction is constant, the human brain only copies what it values. And if she is echoing parts of you without realizing it, your presence still has weight. This is where men between 35 and 70 must sharpen perception instead of chasing validation. You don't confront this signal. You don't test it. You observe it, calmly, strategically. Like a man shaped by Old Stoic wisdom, you let patterns reveal truth without forcing outcomes. She listens to the music you once shared because it regulates her emotions. She uses phrases you used because language carries memory. She adopts your routines because they once made her feel grounded. This is not nostalgia. This is emotional conditioning. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. And when her behaviors still carry your color, your influence remains active. Here's the instruction most men miss. Mirroring does not mean you rush forward. It means you hold your frame. You stay consistent. You refine yourself. You lead by stability, not pursuit. That is how Stoicism Win plays out in real relationships. When you remain centered, disciplined, and forward-moving, the mirror grows clearer. She feels the contrast between your steadiness and the noise of the world. Short truth, strong truth. Energy remembered is energy respected. This is where an iron mind matters. An iron mind does not overinterpret. An iron mind does not panic. An iron mind watches behavior, not words. In today's digital age, mirroring shows up subtly. She posts at similar times, revisits shared interests, adopts parallel routines, or aligns her lifestyle rhythm closer to yours. These are unconscious pulls, not planned moves. And the advice is simple but demanding. Become someone worth mirroring again, not someone begging to be noticed. Lao Tzu said, "Mastering others is strength, mastering yourself is true power, and that mastery is what keeps you magnetic." You don't need to remind her of the past. Her nervous system already does that for her. You don't need to replay old stories. Your present discipline speaks louder. This is how Old Stoic wisdom applies to modern dating and modern masculinity. You invest in your body, your work, your purpose, your calm. You move forward without resentment. You let silence do the heavy lifting. Victory here is internal first. Control your reactions, control your pace, control your standards. When you do this, mirroring becomes confirmation, not confusion. Remember this sentence and let it settle. People copy what they still feel connected to. Say it again. People copy what they still feel connected to. That is why Stoicism Win is not about emotional withdrawal. It is about emotional leadership, and leadership always starts within. An iron mind does not chase shadows. It walks straight and lets the truth follow. In a world obsessed with immediate reassurance, you win by patience. In a culture addicted to noise, you win by composure. In relationships, the man who masters himself masters the moment. This is not about manipulation. This is about clarity, and clarity always favors the disciplined man. If you understood this signal, you're already seeing what most men never notice. You're no longer guessing, chasing, or reacting blindly. You're reading behavior. You're holding your ground. You're moving with clarity instead of emotion. That's how real power shows up. Don't let this insight pass without locking it in. Comment this sentence below to mark the shift. I observe patterns, I stay grounded, and I let my presence speak for itself. Signal number 7. She finds indirect ways to stay visible without initiating contact. Signal number 7 is the quiet art of staying visible without crossing the line, and it's one of the most overlooked moves in female psychology because it doesn't knock on your door. It rearranges the furniture where you're already standing, and that is exactly why so many men miss it. She doesn't text, she doesn't call, she doesn't suddenly, accidentally bump into you. Don't expect fireworks. Be alert to patterns. Instead, she adjusts the lighting of her presence so you notice without feeling chased, and that subtlety is the point. She posts at times she knows you're likely scrolling, not randomly, not carelessly, but with intention disguised as coincidence. She shares a song you once talked about, a photo from a place that holds a shared memory, a quote that mirrors a conversation you thought was long gone. That is not nostalgia drifting by. That is a signal wrapped in restraint. You must understand this. When a woman misses you but refuses to break her silence, she chooses visibility over vulnerability. She wants to be seen without asking to be approached. She wants to remind you she exists in your mental orbit without forcing you to react, because reaction given freely is worth more than attention demanded. This is where psychology tricks quietly operate, not as manipulation, but as emotional economy. She changes something small about her appearance in a photo, a haircut, a new style, a softer or brighter expression, not to impress the world, but to trigger recognition in you. Be honest with yourself. You noticed, you just didn't name it. She engages lightly with the environment you share, liking a post connected to an inside joke, watching your stories without comment, appearing consistently but never intrusively, and that consistency is the message. Don't dismiss it as boredom or habit. Habits don't carry emotional timing. She is pacing her presence so it feels natural, so it feels safe, so it feels like your idea to reach out. That is how to fall in love without forcing the door open. This signal works especially on men who pride themselves on logic, because it doesn't look logical at first glance. It looks casual, but beneath that casual surface is careful awareness. She knows if she steps forward too clearly, she risks rejection or disrupting the balance, so she steps sideways instead, letting you notice the movement out of the corner of your eye. Be aware of the restraint here. Missing someone doesn't always look like longing. Sometimes it looks like self-control. That is female psychology at its most refined, choosing suggestion over declaration. She may share content that reflects growth or calm or joy, not to prove anything, but to say, I'm still here, I'm still me, and I still matter to you, without speaking the words. You must not confuse silence with absence. Silence can be a strategy, a pause filled with intention. Don't rush to label it indifference just because she isn't knocking loudly. She wants you to notice her without feeling pushed, to remember her without feeling obligated, to choose her without being cornered. That choice, freely made, is powerful. This is why these psychology tricks work. They respect autonomy while awakening curiosity. She is creating a soft echo of herself in your world, subtle enough to be missed by 99% of men, yet clear enough for the one who pays attention. Be that man. Notice the timing, notice the themes, notice the emotional relevance. When you do, you'll realize this signal isn't about games, it's about dignity. It's about wanting connection without sacrificing self-respect. And if you respond with equal calm, not desperation, not coldness, but grounded presence, you shift the dynamic from silent signaling to mutual awareness. That is how to fall in love in a way that feels natural, earned, and steady. Remember, in female psychology, what is not said often carries more weight than what is shouted. And when she stays visible without reaching out, she is trusting you to be perceptive enough to meet her halfway. Hey, my friend, thanks for staying with me until the very end. Remember this clearly. Women rarely express missing someone through words. They communicate through behavior, through silence, through what's left unsaid. Once you understand that, you stop chasing confusion. You become grounded, you stay calm, and you start choosing yourself. My sincere advice to you is this: don't try to force anyone to explain their feelings. Observe, feel, trust your instincts. When you're emotionally aware enough to understand what isn't being said, you don't need to beg or prove your worth. That clarity and self-respect are exactly what make you magnetic. In a noisy world, the strongest man is the one who understands silence, because that's where her real feelings live. Stay steady, stay clear, and trust that what's meant for you will be drawn to you.